How's it going, everybody? This is the Reviewing Network, and if you follow me over the last couple of years, you know that when the new schedule comes out for the new season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I like to do a little video discussing my thoughts on the schedule and how the season I think will play out. Well, I gotta be honest with you. This year, I'm kind of not really into it this year, mostly because of the decisions the team has made this past offseason. Not with getting guys like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That don't have a problem with. It's like the decisions to bring in Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator when you could have had other guys that were more skillful, like guys that would have really jump started the offense, and then the stupid decisions to trade Deontay Johnson for a skill player that to this very day, it's now been almost over 2 months now since they made that trade. They have not gotten that big skill player to replace Deontay Johnson, which tells you I don't think they really had a plan to get rid to replace him. They just wanted to get rid of him. Same thing with Kenny Pickett. I want to be excited for this team this season, but this is just one of those years where everything that it's like this team is out to get me and make me just hate everything about this team and what they do. That's why and to make matters worse, the schedule is not helping anything. Like when I looked at the schedule for the first time today, I really did feel like I felt like Mr. Garrison when he had no choice but to talk about evolution. I just looked at it and went like, "Oh, that's a piece of garbage right there. That's a piece of garbage right there. That's a game we'll easily lose." It's like it feels like this year. It really hits me that this team really is probably not going to go anywhere, and I'm just going to run through the schedule here. The entire schedule for the NFL came out tonight, and I'll just give you my quick thoughts on this because really, I don't really want to do this, but I feel like it's kind of like a contractual obligation, even though I don't have any contracts whatsoever to do this. I just do it just for the hell of it, But let's do it anyway. Let's get this over with. Here is the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers season schedule, and it begins on September 8th with a trip to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, which, I laughed at them for drafting Michael Penix Jr. when they signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $100 million deal beforehand. You're basically drafting somebody who's going to sit behind Kirk Cousins for 4 years because Green Bay did it, and Green Bay did it because that's Green Bay. You're not Green Bay. You'll never be Green Bay. You couldn't even win a Super Bowl when you were up 28-3. So what the hell do you think is going to happen here? But this is a revenge game, of course. Arthur Smith comes over from Atlanta to Pittsburgh as the new offensive coordinator. He brings a couple of his players that were on that team, Cordero Patterson, Michael Pruitt, just to name a few. And everyone's going into this game thinking oh, he's coming back to Atlanta. He's going to come in and really show that this team made a huge mistake. No. I think the Atlanta Falcons are probably going to go into this game thinking that they've got the upper hand here. In fact, the early betting line is the Steelers up down -3, basically meaning that the Steelers have a slim chance of winning this game and more chances of losing this game. So that should tell you everything you need to know right there. But I feel like this is the game that Atlanta really shows that we're better off without Arthur Smith because they've got a head coach, they've got a quarterback for the future, and a quarterback for the now, and a team that's really, it's stacked and ready to go, but it's just can they finish the job here? And I think that this first game of the season is going to show that the Falcons are for real, for at least a little bit here until something happens. But I don't think the Steelers will win it in this one. And then the next week they go to Denver, and it's another revenge game because of course Russell Wilson was in Denver. And so he comes back to the Denver Broncos and tries to show them that, hey, you made a mistake for cutting me, which they probably did make a mistake, but knowing Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos did not look like a great team in general, but the last time they played the Broncos in Denver, it was pretty much the same team, pretty much. I mean, it was pretty much the same outcome. They lost to Case Keenum. Just think about that for a second. And yeah, Bo Nix is probably going to be playing. The Broncos don't really have a whole lot there. I want to believe they'll win that one, but I just can't do that to myself. I just don't think they're going to win that one because I think Sean Payton is going to do the same thing to Russell Wilson that Raheem Morris is going to do to Arthur Smith the week before. It's just going to show that we're better off without you, and we're going to show you why right here. So that's an 0-2 start for them. And then you've got the Chargers in the first home game of the season. Jim Harbaugh comes back to the NFL, brings Justin Herbert over to the Chargers. And the Chargers are not that great of a football team this year because they lost half their starters on the offensive line. But the last time the Chargers came to Pittsburgh, that was one of those games that I went to. It's one I wish I could forget because the Chargers were just somehow godlike in that game, and the Steelers couldn't hold up. And even after they had a lead in the first half, they never blew a lead before in that game that I saw that was as high as that one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was rough. It was a rough game to sit through, and that just gives me bad flashbacks. And I feel like this will probably be one of those games where the team doesn't look like it's that great in general, but because they have Jim Harbaugh and you still got Justin Herbert, they'll probably come in there and beat them. So we're looking at an 0-3 start so far, and we're not even at the end of the month. Then they go back out on the road to Indianapolis, where last year they got humiliated by Gardner Minshew, and now you have Anthony Richardson coming back in. Joe Flacco's the backup quarterback. But I think the Steelers should be motivated to go into that game, not just because of the fact they'll probably be 0-3, but because they got humiliated last year by the Colts. But that was a mistake on them for keeping Mitch Trubisky in there for that long. The Steelers had a lead in that game too. I just remembered that, and they couldn't hold that together when it mattered the most. And you got to contain Jonathan Taylor because he just destroyed them last year. I feel like they're going to do that again, but this time I think the Steelers defense will be ready for this one. I'm giving them a win in that one. So September 1-3. That is not a good start whatsoever. And it's only going to get tougher as we move along here. Because on October 6th, we've got the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys are all in, even though they made very little moves in the offseason. What have they really done to say that we're all in? Hey, we brought Zeke back. Okay, you brought him back as a shell of his former self, and now he gets the honor of coming back to Pittsburgh and running over this team for a third time in a row. Wonderful, just absolutely brilliant. This one, I don't think the Steelers will win this one. I think this is one that they're going to push real hard for the Cowboys to win. So 1-4 start to the season so far. We move to Sunday the 13th, where they go out to the Las Vegas Raiders, which is one I think they can win. Not because Antonio Pierce won't make it a competitive game, but the Raiders I don't think have a good enough team that can hold together. They don't have Josh Jacobs anymore. Their quarterback Aiden O'Connell is not a bad quarterback, but this is a team that I think that they are not as good as they were last year when the Steelers played them and Steelers won that game. And I feel like they can go into Las Vegas again and go beat them here. So I'm giving them a win on that one. So we're at 2-4 right now. Then we got the Jets on Sunday Night Football again on October 20th. Aaron Rodgers, we hope will play in that game. Then again, we may not, because if Aaron Rodgers plays, the Jets might be more than too hard for the Steelers to beat them. But this is a game that really, I feel like the Steelers could win this one. But this is one of those games that looks like it's always one of those games. It's like the Arizona Cardinals this year, where you think that they're going to be a lowly team and you're not going to be able to beat them, and then they come into Pittsburgh and literally kill Kenny Pickett's Steeler career on one of the worst weather days in late December that I've ever seen for a Steeler game. But so yeah, we're looking at here now a 2-5 start to the season. That is not good. But the bye week ends with the New York Giants, and that's one I think they can beat because the New York Giants are not as good as they were last year. Saquon Barkley's no longer there. Daniel Jones was last year just the epitome of what Daniel Jones really is, or will he go back to 2002 form? We don't know for certain. I don't think the Giants really have a lot of skill players there, except for Malik Neighbors, who they just got in the draft. I'm thinking maybe that the Steelers will have enough energy there to actually go in there and beat them. And I think that's a game that they should win. So at the bye week, we're looking at a 3-5 start to the season, which is not very promising, especially when we consider what's coming up in the second half of the season. So after the Week 9 bye week, we have the Week 10 game, which is the Washington Commanders. At the Washington Commanders. Again, I think the Steelers can win. I think they can get to 4-5 at that point. We don't know how good Jaden Daniels is going to be in that game, but I think the Steelers should have enough there to beat the Washington Commanders on that front. And I'm going to say they beat the Baltimore Ravens at home. They usually do very well with them when the Steelers play the Ravens at home, especially when Lamar Jackson plays. I mean, they've had Lamar's number for for most home games since he came into the league. There's been those couple of times when he does beat them, but I feel like the Steelers could get a win there. They could be at 500 at that point. But then that's the start of the worst stretch for them, because after that you've got a Thursday night football game with the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. And I hate these games because all the attention has to be on the Cleveland Browns. And, that's the thing that I hate about these games, because that happened 2 years ago when the Steelers played the Browns on Thursday Night Football. That happened 3 years ago when the Steelers played them on Thursday Night Football in the Freddie Kitchens era. And, of course, Mason Rudolph got his head knocked in by Myles Garrett. And the last couple times they went to Cleveland, the Steelers got thrashed by the Browns. And I kind of expect that to happen again. Whether it's going to be Deshaun Watson there or not, they're going to probably win that game. So we're looking at 5-6 at Cincinnati. Joe Burrow comes back in form. Jamar Chase is still there. And, T. Higgins is going to be there on that day. But in Cincinnati, I think they probably beat the Steelers in that one. So we're looking at 5-7. I think the Steelers get the revenge on the Browns on December 8th, 6-8. And then the worst stretch of them all begins, December 15th to the 25th, because the following Sunday they have to go to Philadelphia. And if you know the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Eagles when they go to Philadelphia, the Steelers have been absolutely horrible in Philadelphia. The last time they beat the Steelers beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. You have to go all the way back to 1970. 1974 was the last time the Steelers beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. Is that right? Or is that correct? No, I'm sorry, that's not right. It's 1960, even worse, 1965. Almost 60 years since the last time the Steelers beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. And that just does not give me hope going for this game. I mean, this feels like a game where, even if the Eagles are half of what they've been the last couple of years, it's just that record, man, that 60-year record that probably will never be broken. So that's already a bad start right there. And then they have a short week because they got to go to Baltimore on December 21st. And the Ravens probably get the revenge there. So where are we at right now? We're at, I believe, 6-9 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6-9. So going to Philadelphia is bad. Then going to Baltimore is bad enough. The worst factor comes on Christmas Day, because you know what? Let's bring in the defending Super Bowl champs in the Kansas City Chiefs, who are trying to go for a three-peat. Yeah, Christmas Day on Netflix. Kansas City comes to town. I think we all know what the big story is going to be in that game. Not going to be the Steelers. No. It's going to be Taylor Swift, because clearly because the NFL has to bow to her now because of the new fans she brought in, and the Steelers have no chance in that game, really. I mean, they've been 2-0 on Christmas Day, but this is just one of those games where it's just it's going to be so depressing to watch. It's one of those ones where you look at it and you're just like, is there any way I could commit suicide before this? That's how bad this game's going to be, because Kansas City, they always find this is the worst time to get Kansas City, because this is the part of the season where even if they struggle in the beginning of the season, they always find a way to come back in the swing of things when the season is near completion. I mean, they are the new New England Patriots that we don't hate yet. Maybe after this game I will hate them, but that's a 6-10 start to the season, and the season finale, of course, is going to be Cincinnati, where the Steelers, I think, will get the revenge there, and 7-10. 7-10 is probably their high mark for the year. That's depressing to think about, because, they've made some moves. They've completely revamped the offense. But there are still a lot of glaring holes that need to be filled. You cannot go into the season with a rookie in Roman Wilson to be your number 2 wide receiver. You cannot trade Deontay Johnson for a rookie to be the number 2 guy. You have to get somebody to fill that void. And I know they're waiting until June 1st to make the decision, but you're probably not even going to make any decisions there. They're just like, no, we think Roman Wilson's going to be the guy that's going to be eventually the number 2. And you can't go into the season like that. You have to do something about the cornerback position. You can't entrust a guy like Dante Jackson, who's going to be 29 that season, to be the backup for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, it's just... they want to try so hard to get people back into the celebration of the Steelers. They want to be the team. you want to get everybody happy that the season's coming along, but when I look at the schedule and I look at all the decisions they've made so far this offseason, it's no wonder why I basically gave up on this team at the beginning of the year, because it's just going to be the same thing again. Even if they somehow get a winning record, so what? Like, really, so what? What am I supposed to get excited about? You make the playoffs, and then you do the same thing you've done the last 2 times you've been there. You let the other team completely trounce all over you, and you don't even bother to show up once again because you're not capable of doing so. So what's the whole point of this? What's the whole point of me getting excited for this? Why am I even doing this? I mean, like, it's something I've been doing for the last couple of years now, talking about the schedule and all that, but I don't know, man. I just don't have it in me. Does that mean I'm not going to watch it? No, I'll still watch it. It's a never-ending cycle, because it's just Pittsburgh sports now. Everybody is stuck on this mentality that we don't need to make any significant changes, because sooner or later the lightning bolt's going to strike us and we're going to get good again. Yeah, the Pirates have done that for the last 30 years. The Penguins have done that for the last couple of years, and now the Steelers have done that for the last couple of years. And quite frankly, I'm getting sick and tired of it. Yeah, like, I just can't take it anymore. But I'm gonna keep watching anyway, because you know what? I need something to watch during the course of the day, on those Sundays. So here we go. I guess I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words at how much I'm not really looking forward to this season whatsoever, despite all the attempts to improve this team and get them back on the right track. I mean, yeah, there were some smart business decisions you made, but there's also other decisions that just baffle me on why you decided to do this. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is the mentality I need to go into this season like this. Like, the last couple of years, I've been so optimistic about the chances of the Steelers finally getting back to a Super Bowl, and every time I do that, I always get my heart broken. It's like going through a divorce. I talked about this at the beginning of the year. It's like going through a divorce. You want to just separate from the person that you've been with for so many years, and then they slowly but surely start to make decisions where you're just like, okay, let me turn my head and see what you're doing. Maybe there's a chance for a reevaluation of our love here. And then, as soon as that happens, you find out she's been sleeping with your best friend for the last 4 months, and it's just like, slam the door, get the hell out of here. That's what I'm like with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, every time I feel like they're moving in the right direction, they make one stupid decision after another, and it just doesn't get me excited for the season going forward. Like I said, I'm gonna watch anyway because it's there. I've got nothing else better to do besides the movies and TV shows. I need something like this to just get me through the day. So let's see what happens. Who knows? Like I said, maybe this is the type of mentality I need to have for this season, because I've been so optimistic the last couple of years, and it's just like, maybe this is the chance for me to... maybe if I'm as pessimistic as possible, maybe that's a sign that the team can change. Maybe this is the thing that needs to happen to get this team back on track. Or they just go 10-7, everything stays the same, and I won't move one step closer to putting a bullet in my head. No, I'm kidding. I'm not suicidal. I'm just like, you get what I'm talking about here. Like, this is okay. I'm struggling to figure out how to end this, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Like I said, this was kind of an obligation to do this because I've done this before. Here's hoping that I'm completely wrong and this season turns out to be one of the best Steelers seasons in years. Hopefully. We hope.